Welcome to program number 2 in high volume selling. If you remember on our last time together, we talked about the decisions that I feel you have to make in terms of progressing. We talked about the fact in the beginning that we had 3 objectives, and that was to develop some skills, to obviously figure out ways to earn more money, and have some fun in the process. You probably didn't laugh a lot on that first tape, and you won't laugh a lot in the second one, but we know that this business can be fun for you if you choose to make it fun. On this particular program, it's going to be a lot shorter than almost anything else that you preview and watch, because what we're going to do here is we're going to work on the skills to the degree that we're going to test to see the level of skills that you have. Because like anything we do in life, we have to always be looking at where we are, where we can go, and what we have to do to get there. So therefore, we have to look at the skill set that each of us has individually for selling real estate. We have to determine how good we are at those skills, what we have to learn, and then how we're going to go about learning those skills. So what we want to do here is take a little test. Now, probably some of you haven't taken a test since you were in high school or college. So don't be afraid to press the pause button. Don't be afraid to slow this thing down, to rewind it a few times, because we're going to have you write down the numbers 1 through 16. And we're going to look at the 16 fundamental parts of what I believe skills required to build a strong, high-volume business. Now, let me, on tape number 2, program number 2 for you, define what I mean by high volume. In 1984, I came to the conclusion that a major portion of all the training in our industry was really designed for people that were either A, new to the business, or B, low producers. I really couldn't find anybody or any training out there that was designed for people that either were real productive, meaning they were doing 50, 75, 100 plus transactions a year, and or people that had the desire to do that. Because that, and some of you may have heard of this, I created a program starting in the mid-'80s called the Superstar Retreat. And the Superstar Retreat was designed for agents who either were big producers in their community, in their town, in their company, and or the agents that had the desire to become a big producer. And I wanted to specialize in those kinds of people. Now today, here we are, 20, 25, 30 years later, I'm still specializing in agents who are either top producers or those that want to become top producers. I'm going to work under the assumption on this particular program right now with you that you made the decision that you want to become a top producer, that you have a goal or objective, whether it be in a year, 3 years, or 5 years, to become a substantial producer, to become big time in this business, and to get the rewards that go with it, which is recognition, security, and money, as I mentioned to you before. And I'm working under the assumption that you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. But part of that is developing strong skill sets. See, what I discovered was the great salespeople in real estate in North America have great skills. They really understand the process that is required to sell and list a lot of property. And that process is not difficult, although it's vast. It's not hard, although at times you will think that it's difficult because of the things you have to learn. If you went back to school and decide to get a college degree in selling real estate, and let's say it was going to take you 4 years and you were going to spend $25,000 a year for that college education, but you knew when you got through in 4 years you would be an expert at selling and have the ability and skills to go out and sell 50, 60, 70 homes a year, I bet that you would probably pay the price to make that happen. Well, here's what you would be taught if you went back to college for 4 years. Let's write them down one at a time. Here's the basic 16 skills that I know you need to know to build your business. Let's make the decision to learn each one of them. Number 1, managing your time. Managing your time. Now, we're going to do a complete program for you on managing your time. How to set up your schedule, how to make your schedule work. See, you and I both know, as independent contractors in real estate, managing your time is always a challenge. We know that there's many, many distractions in a real estate office, or if you work out of your home in your home. We also know that if you don't manage your time, you can virtually waste days, weeks, months, and years in real estate, and they go by just like that. Number 2, of course, is prospecting for sellers and buyers. Every time I use the P word, somebody gets mad. Okay? Nobody wants in real estate to talk about prospecting, but you and I both know that prospecting is a required segment of the skills you have to know to build your business. Number 3, working past clients and centers of influence. You know what's interesting is I've never understood, and I've met thousands of real estate people who are enormous successes that never worked their past clients. When I'd ask them why, and they'd say, well, I don't like to go back and beg for business, and I don't like people to think that I need the business, and we had a problem when the transaction took place, and I don't want to go back and open up that wound or sore again. And I'm going, wait a minute. The reason they did business with you is because they felt you had a great service, and you performed that service and closed the deal. If you don't go back, you're losing money. See, with centers of influence and past clients, if you're not calling on them, guys and gals, somebody else is. Number 4 is pre-qualifying. I don't understand this business most of the time. I don't understand how a business as large as ours, because real estate, in terms of volume of money and transactions every year, it's one of the biggest businesses in the world. I don't understand how we can run a business and not pre-qualify every person we talk to. If you go to a doctor, if you go to an attorney, they're going to pre-qualify you 100% of the time before they would ever make any recommendations. So pre-qualifying is one of the critical parts. Lead follow-up. I see it all the time. I see agents work so hard to generate leads. They work so hard to find a prospect. They get a name and number, and then they put it in a file or in a computer on a piece of paper and never look at it again. And of course, then I always feel bad because A, you've got a prospect, a lead, that is thinking you're going to call and follow up and do a job for them. And then second, what's worse, you've got an agent who probably needs a transaction, needs the money, needs the income, who doesn't do a thing, and all is lost. Next, of course, is the listing presentation itself. If you take a look at the listing presentation, it's like anything else that we're ever going to do in life. And that is simply learning a script to work with a person on that will help them make the decision to work with you. The listing presentation is not a difficult thing. If you've looked at the trigger cards, which I'm sure you have by now, the entire script is right there for you. But the listing presentation is critical because it allows you to show a seller who you are, what you do, and what you can accomplish to help them accomplish their goal, which is get the home sold. Next is pricing property. Pricing property. Let's face it. If you price property wrong, you pay for it for a long time. If you price it right, you get paid a lot for a long time. So pricing property is learning what to say, how to say it in a proper way to convince the seller and or a buyer to purchase at a particular price. Handling objections. I've always been amazed at the real estate business. I've always been amazed that an industry as large as we are can be befuddled by simple objections. As you'll hear when we get to the handling objections portion of this program, there's only 8 or 9 objections a seller could ever give you. Watch. I want to think it over. I got a friend in the business. I want to compare companies. Go for sale by owner. I want more than what it's worth. I want to give you a 30-day listing. These are common objections. I'll bet if you start doing some research on your own, you're going to discover there are agents been in the business 10, 15, 20, 30 years that have been hearing these same objections for 10, 20, 30 years and have never learned the answer. Folks, watch. The objections never change. Learn the answers and you have an automatic response when you get the objection. Closing and negotiating as part of the sale. Being able to look the seller or buyer right in the eye and say, would you sign the contract, please? Now, think about the words. Would you sign the contract, please? Just the words cause some salespeople to get sweaty palms, to get nervous, get the shakes, to have palpitations of the heart, for their blood pressure to go up, their temperature to rise. Would you sign the contract, please? If I was to stop right now and say to you, I want you, wherever you are at this moment, to say out loud with a smile, would you sign the contract, please? Go ahead and try it. See, you didn't have a heart attack. You probably didn't faint. Okay, you're probably still okay. But yet, for most people, closing is one of those terrifying moments in the sale where they don't know what to do and they don't know how to behave. So we're going to spend some time helping you learn that. Watch, working with buyers. There's no doubt that even the best agents are going to get 30 to 35% of their total transactions from buyers. See, the catch with buyers is to pre-qualify, to show them 2 or 3 homes, show them in a way that causes them to want to buy, convince them that the property is right, and close the transaction. Working with buyers is a critical part of the sale. Tracking your numbers. I can't tell you how important tracking your numbers is. Every single day, tracking what you did, even on the days you didn't do much, knowing that it's going to be discouraging to look at the fact you didn't do much, to track your numbers so we can build a more predictable, duplicatable business. We'll talk about that a lot later. Business planning. simply having the ability to write out the goals for what you want to accomplish. Write out the plan of what you want to do. Write out how you're going to make it happen so you can accomplish the goals and things that you want to accomplish. Practicing scripts and developing skills. Well, these are all the skills. If you're going to practice the scripts to support these kinds of things, you're going to become good at this business. Watch. Developing those skills by doing them all the time and walking into sellers and buyers and focusing on taking a particular script that you've learned and using it in such a way to get a response that you want. Practicing scripts and developing skills. Customer service is next on our list. Customer service. Providing them with high-quality service during the transaction, providing high-quality service after the transaction. And next, of course, is mindset. I have said for the last several years, one of the critical parts of building a high-volume business is what takes place up here. At our Superstar Retreats, I've actually spent hours and hours sharing ideas, and I'm going to spend quite a bit of time with you guys and gals in this program, ideas on how to develop a strong mindset so you can accomplish the things you say you want to accomplish. And then last is money management and profitability in our real estate test. Money management and profitability. We're in a business where you can make a lot of money. We're in a business where people spend a lot of money, mostly on themselves, to make themselves feel good and look good in the eyes of the public. It's called ego recognition. But the truth is, if the potential to make a lot of money is there, the potential to spend it is there, the catch then is profitability. And we're going to talk to you about how to take whatever you earn and make it profitable for yourself. So basically, there are 16 different things. There's probably 100. I've listed 16 things that I believe you have to learn and you have to know. So once you've written them out, here's the catch. I want you to take a pen, and I want you next to each one of them, on a scale from 1 to 10, I want you to judge yourself as to how well you actually do that. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. How well do you do each of these things? How well? Okay, watch. How well do you manage your time? On a scale from 1 to 10. How well do you prospect for buyers and sellers? How well do you work your past clients? How well do you pre-qualify? How well do you do lead follow-up? How well do you do your listing presentation? How well do you price properties, handle objections, close and negotiate? On a scale from 1 to 10. And I want you to really focus on how well you do it, not how much you know. Because, see, you may know a lot and not use it. You may know nothing and not use it. How well do you do it today? If I was sitting with you individually, one at a time, and we went through each one of these, and I started questioning you as to how well you do it, how would I score you from 1 to 10? So I want you to go ahead and do that. Then once you're done, if you know that 10 is a perfect score, and there's 16 categories, the perfect score would be 160. Then I want you to total your score. And I want you to think about what you've totaled. There's 3 or 4 things once you've taken the test that you have to do. I take this test myself because I'm trying to help people like yourself sell more real estate. So I'm always trying to improve my skill level in each of these areas so I can do a better job for you. I normally score about 140. I've been doing this for a long time, and I score 140 out of 160. If you're a new agent, there's a good chance you're scoring probably less than 75. If you're doing probably 15 to 25 transactions a year, you're probably scoring any place from 75 to 125, okay? And if you're really a superstar, 10, 20 years in the business that's really paid attention, you might be scoring 130, 135. Test yourself. Figure out your score. And then let me make a couple recommendations. If you're scoring, say, any place from 0 to 75, take every one of these programs that you have access to and study them virtually an hour a day, 5 days a week for the next 6 months. If you're an agent that has scored between 75 and, say, 110, 115, and you're doing moderate business, I want you to look at which ones you scored the lowest on, because you probably have 4 or 5 where you scored 5 or less. And I want you to focus on those for the next 90 days. If you're an agent that has been in the business a while and doing a good volume of business, not as high as you want it to be yet, doing good business, I want you to pick out the 2 or 3 that if you mastered them, you could really propel your business to a much higher level. See, the truth is, Every one of us can learn from this test. Now, if I'm the teacher, if I'm the professor, and you're the student, okay, and my belief is you have to score at least 6 or above on everything on this list just to pass, I wonder how many of you would actually pass the test. How many would I hold back for a year and keep you in first grade for a second time and make you work a little bit harder? See, buyers and sellers, and I want you to think about this very carefully, are paying you money in direct proportion to your ability to score well in each of these areas and then apply them to them during their transaction. They're willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars by knowing how to do this well. Watch, you learned the alphabet, you learned how to add 2 and 2, you probably learned algebra and geometry, and you probably learned some foreign languages in high school and college, and you took psych classes and history classes. Watch, you can learn this like you learned anything else when you're going to high school or college. Spend the time, watch these programs, because we're going to take you through all 16 of these one at a time. And we're going to help you learn them. Take the test, score yourself. Let's go to work.